All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development 1100 C# programming class, I've been doing a series of videos to get people acclimated, so to speak, to C#. And I'm in Chapter 10, and I'd actually plan on doing 2 videos, but my second video just stopped, so it's going to be 3 videos. And what I'm doing in here is I'm taking this that you see right here, making my own copy of it. And if you click Bill Customer, what I'm doing is I'm taking everything in here and I'm disabling it. I'm disabling it what is in here, and I'm disabling what is in here. Then I'm going to ask, do you want to set Bill Customer as a default method? And if you say yes, it'll put a check there. And that's all it does for Bill Customer. Then for credit card, you're only allowed to select one of these. And I manually am creating a 16-digit credit card number. And I've got the select month and the select year. All right. And again, I ask if you want that to be your default method. Now, I did this a little bit differently just so I could practice, or I could show you some of the different ways that some of the stuff in here can be done. You will get this code, but let me show it to you, and I'll run it for you and show you what it looks like. All right, so first let me just say that when the program starts, here's the program. When it starts, I call this fill expire month, and what that does is it fills this up, it fills that up with January through December. Okay, the words January through December. Okay, then after that, we call fill expire year. So that fills this up right here with the current year, and it goes 9 more years out, so 10 total years. All right. Then next, it fills the list box, and I probably could do that in the other order. All right, so the list box is going to put in here MasterCard, Visa, and American Express. All right. And then I call clear controls, which will clear everything out. And then finally, just so one of these is set, I set the bill customer to true. So when you look at this, the fill list box is right here. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll move this up. There we go. And all that's doing is it's taking the list box that we've already created, clearing it out, putting in Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, and setting the current list selected index to the first one, which is Visa. Then the fill expire month, I took this right out of the book. We've got a string array with select a month, then January through December in it. All right, so that's going to actually afterwards fill that combo box with that. Then we do a similar thing for year. All right. And that's pretty much it for that. In the clear controls, we do just that. All right, so where's clear controls? There it is. All right. Originally, I was going to set the credit card check to false. I just said forget it. All right. And I've got the, I enable the list box. I enable the text box. I enable each combo box. I set for the combo box, I set the month to select a month and the year to select a year. All right. And the select as default for the checkbox, I set that to false. All right. Our exit is pretty much what we've been doing. I made my own show message routine. Now notice I've got a thing in here for check changed. That means that anytime you go from one checkbox to the other, it's going to call clear controls to clear the controls. All right, a couple of other things I did in here just because I was, for lack of better words, goofing around. I originally was going to have a thing in here called Are There No Radio Buttons Selected? And I left it in there so you could see it. All right, but I commented it out. I also, this stuff that's in here was right from the book. Okay, just so you saw that. All right, and let's see. if this was checked right here, so if the bill customer was checked, all right, when you click calculate, okay, so notice we call in here display all values. So if the bill customer, we handle the bill customer and then we return. There's nothing else to do. Otherwise, if it's not the bill customer, okay, we're going to call this check to make sure that we want that as the default method. So if it's not the bill customer, okay, then it's going to be the credit card customer. So this is the handle bill customer. There's not really much in there. We clear the controls. Again, I keep doing that to make sure. Customer will be billed directly, no credit card info. And again, I'm disabling all of this stuff. And then as it says, I call check for set by default method. All right. So really in here, what I could do, we know that if it's not a bill customer, then it has to be a credit card customer. All right. So where are we calling handle credit card customer? I don't know. Let's see if we are calling it from any place. All right, so there's not there. I spelled handle wrong. All right, so there it is. Am I calling it from any place though? No, it doesn't look like it. It is working. I'm just wondering how it's being called. Let's look at it once. Again, if you choose bill customer like it is, and you click calculate, watch how all of these get grayed out. All right? It says you will be billed directly. Now everything is grayed out. Okay? And then it says, do you want to use this as your default billing method? Now, it's kind of hard to see, but it says yes, and if I do check OK, there is a checkbox there now. When I clear, everything clears out. When I do a credit card and I check calculate, all right, it again is coming in here and saying, do you want to use the credit card? If I say no, it won't be checked, and if I say yes, it will be checked. So right now, nothing else is happening. Well, that's a problem, so let's fix that. So where we've got this check that we're making here, where we're saying if rad, all right, I'm going to put an else in here. I'm going to put an else if rad credit card dot checked. And if that's the case, what do I want to do? Well, I want to do two things. I want to call handle credit card customer, and then I want to check at the end to see whether or not, all right, to see whether or not I should set that as a default method. So let's run it one more time. You've already seen this. If I click bill customer, calculate, everything gets grayed out. If I say no, it doesn't set this. If I clear and do this and choose credit card customer, let's change everything. I'm going to change it to American Express, and I'm going to change it to October and 2026. All right, and I click calculate. Now notice, it says you must select a month because it reset it, okay, and that's okay. All right, and it says, do you want to use that? I'll say yes. All right, let's go back and do January and 2023. Now I think the problem is going to be when I click calculate, it immediately resets it. So that's something we don't want to have happen. All right, because the only thing I can set here right now is this. Well, all right, then let's fix that. So handle credit card customer. And again, the first thing I'm doing in here, not the first thing, but one of the first things is calling clear controls. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to comment that out. Okay. So now when I come in and choose credit card, and let's use MasterCard, let's select a month. We'll take this month, May. We'll take next year, 2024. We'll click calculate. All right, it says, do you want to use this as a billing method? Sure. So now look, credit card is MasterCard. I generated my own number, and the expiration date is 2024. So everything does appear to be working. Now it's asking me this again, so I'm calling that twice. All right, and what that means is I'm already calling it inside of my handle credit card customer. I'm already calling that in here. So I don't need to call it in here. That's all. All right. Now what I'm doing in here too for the handle credit card customer, I'm using strings for everything. The card type, the card number, the expiration month, the expiration year, and I'm making an output string, which is printing out that information you saw in the message box. So I call determine credit card type, which just goes and grabs the text from whatever one of those I selected. Then I'm calling determine credit card number. I did this a little different, just I was goofing around. I made 4 random numbers, each between 1,000 and 99.99. Then I pasted them together, and that became my credit card number, but I used 2 string on it so I could return a string. Do we have to do that? No, just I was goofing around. Finally, we want to determine the credit card month. And there's the month, and here's the determine credit card year. Am I ever calling that? And there we're calling determine credit card year. And then at the end, I just put everything together. Okay, so one more time to run it. If I choose bill customer and I click calculate, everything grays out. All right, and I'm asked if I want to set that as my default billing method. It's yes by default, so if I click OK, it's now yes. If I click clear, that all clears out. If I click credit card, choose American Express, change the month to December, change the year to 2031, and click calculate. Again, do I want that as my billing method? I'll say no. So I'll just put in here a no. So credit card is American Express. There's a number, and it expires December 2031. So again, everything right now is working. And that's good news. All right, so let's come in here and we finish up the chapter. So combo boxes and list boxes, all right, they have some controls in common with one another. The selected index starts with 0, and it's the number of the element you chose. If you've chosen nothing, the selected index is -1. Selected item is just that. It's the item you selected. All right, you can grab the text from the selected item. I guess that'd have been another way I could have done this. You can sort. It's just a Boolean. So if you set it to true, it'll automatically sort things as you add them to a list box or a combo box. All right, items is all of the items that are in there. The drop-down style, I just kept it as the default, which is basically a combo box. But there's different ways that you can set this. All right, and with the selection mode is, do you want to allow the user to select multiple things? All right, if you look at the selection mode for the list box, so if we go to the list box, and I go to selection mode, it's set to 1. All right, that's why as you chose one credit card over another, that's why you saw what you saw. All right, the different events, selected index changed. when you go from one item to another and the text changed. Okay, when you enter stuff in yourself. This items collection has a count. So the count, for example, for the list box was 3 because there was Visa, MasterCard, and American Express in there. All right, you can add items. When you add items, all right, typically they get added at the end. If you use an insert, you can say exactly where you want to remove things from. All right, when you remove, you can remove everything with a clear. There's a remove at where you can just remove certain things. So this was the code that I used to fill up months. This was the code I used to fill up years. This was the code that I used to fill up the list box. All right. And this right here, the only thing that the system didn't like was it did not like this line of code right here. It did not like me using int with int or something like that. I'm not sure what the problem was. So it says you can also use the string collection editor to load items into a combo box or a list box. That's fine. In chapters 20 and 21, we'll learn how to load this stuff by using the data that's already in a database. Hold off on that until that time, of course. Now, radio buttons, remember radio buttons are for mutually exclusive choices, meaning you oftentimes put radio buttons in a group box like this. All right. That means that credit card can be chosen or bill customer can be chosen, but not both. Whichever one that is chosen, if one is chosen, checked will be equal to true. When you have one chosen and you choose the other one, a check changed event takes place. And that's pretty much what I just said to you right here. Okay. All right, tab order we've already looked at. I've shown you how to use the tab order. Again, it is not mandatory when you're playing with tab order, even though I've been doing it. It is not mandatory for you to set tab order of labels because labels cannot get the focus anyway. But I just do it because I'm just used to doing it, I guess. So that's why I do it. You want a little more than what I gave you in class, it's right here. How to get the information you need for using a control. Well, I'm not going to do it. I am not going to do it. All right. But typically, like if I'm sitting there running a program and I want to learn more about a button, I can highlight the button and hit my F1 function key. Now, I'm not going to do that because it wreaks havoc when I'm trying to tape by hitting that key. But that's one way that you can do it, just so you're aware of that. You can also go out to learn.microsoft.com and basically get information on just about any control as well. All right, multi-form projects. Okay, and I want to look here. I just want to check something out, so give me a second here. All right, we're not actually very far into the chapter, but I do want to show you this. Okay, in fact, I can build it right in front of you right now, probably as fast as I could go out online and find it. So let's see. I'm going to bring this up. Now that I've got this one, I'm going to do a file, save all. I am going to close this one. And I'm going to show you how I normally show people how to do this. All right, I'm going to come up into my solution. I'm going to do an add, new project. All right, it's going to be another Windows Forms app with C# .NET Framework. And this will be test project 7. All right, this is going to look a little weird, but just bear with me if you would. Okay, I've got this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 buttons in here. I don't know how it does that, but it does sometimes. The order like I'm putting them in here doesn't matter. So move them over just a little. That doesn't look too bad. Okay. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make this right here. I'm going to take the background. In fact, we're going to make this, I'm going to change the name of this to FRM main. Okay, yes, I want to change everything. And I'm going to change the color. We haven't used the yellow for a while, so let's use that one for our background color. All right. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to make 4 forms that are going to look very similar to one another. But I want these buttons to pretty much line up. So what I'm going to do is figure out exactly where my buttons are. All right, so this first button is, I want the location, so that's at 100, 314. The second button is at 266, 314. The third button is at 429, 314. And finally, the last button is at 587, 314. Whoops. Now we've got a very simple interface here. I think you'd agree with that. And I'm going to change this. This is going to say, this will be BTN red, and it's going to say on it red. This is going to say be BTN white, and it's going to say white. I suppose if I wanted to, I could even change the buttons to those colors. I didn't really want to do anything like that, but I could. This one will say blue, and it'll be BTN blue. And finally, this one will say exit. Whoops, not that. I want BTN exit. And it will have the text of exit. And as I've been doing, I'm just going to highlight all of them, go to the size, change the size to 22 bold, and Arial. Okay, there we go. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do is I might as well add the code for all of these. Now it's not going to make a lot of sense, so I'm not going to add for my red, my white, or my blue. But for my exit button, I'll have that old exit program or not, and I'll write that down here. All right, and copy that. You've seen me do this many times before. This will be interesting. So let's see. Fantastic. Okay, I'm using this in a different way, so I'm going to have to find that. Well, I'll grab that later. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let's just come in here and make the other forms. All right, so I am going to right mouse click on the test project 7, and I'm going to add, and this time I'm going to add form over here. All right, I want to add a new form, and we will call this one FRM red.cs. There it is. Now, what you can do, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to highlight all the buttons, copy them, then go to my red and paste them in. Now I'll have to move where they are because I want them to look pretty much standard between these. So if I go to the first one here, what it was supposed to be at. It was supposed to be at 100, 314. Something was goofy there, so let's see. These are all at 314. Let's put that there. All right, I must have written that down wrong. How did I do that? Let's go back to here and highlight one of these buttons. And its location is where? 100, 314. Oh, I just changed the size. I want the location. Okay. Oh, and you'll notice I'm almost there. It's at 110. I want that to be at 100 and 314. Let me move that up just a little bit. Now let's see where it is. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. Let me just do the one button. Okay, so I want that there, here, here, and here. All right. So this should be 266. This next one should be 429. And the next one should be 587. I just remember that. I don't ask me how, but I remember it. Okay, so I've got all those. In fact, let me take this and let me lock this. And now that I've got this one, let me lock this as well. And let me change the background color to red. All right, so I've got my red. I need my white and my blue. Now, I don't want this one to be exit. All right, I don't want this to be BTN exit. This will be BTN main. Okay, and I'm going to change this. I'm going to have this say, I could leave it exit. It would be fine. But I'm going to say main form like that. Well, it's too big. We'll just leave it at main then. That's fine. There. All right, now I want to do the same thing with white and the same thing with blue. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause because I think it's kind of silly for you to sit and watch me make these and kind of stumble my way through here. So I'm going to do these, and when I get done, I will come back and talk to you. Okay, so let me pause the video right now. All right, as you may have guessed, I've written this program more than once before, but I'm going to do it in here anyway. So to go to red, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to put in this code right here. This says, as it says here, to hide the current form, make an instance of the red form, and then make that instance active. So for white, I can do the same thing, except I want to say white and white. And white. And then finally for blue, I can do the same thing, except it'll say blue. And I did find that code for the exit button, so let me grab that. It's down here. All right, so all of my main stuff is done, and just to show you this, again, I don't need any of this stuff. So just to show you this, if I go to here, and now, whoops, I gotta put the right, be showing the right one as a startup. So if I come in here now and I say red, there's my red. All right, and I could keep doing it, but I think you get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to grab, and it's kind of silly to go in the red one and actually have code in the red button. I'm already there, but since I've got it already anyway, I'm just going to put it there. So I'm going to go back to main. Here's white. Here is blue. Now this is different because, well, I did screw it up. Oh, great. I did screw this up because notice I put emain in there, which is really stupid. Let me get that blue back here. Whoops. All right. Red. Why I got red, blue, and white here? I don't know. But I do, and that's okay. We'll make this white. There. All right. Now for this, like I said, I should change the name of the button on here because to have a button called emain is just silly. So I'm just going to change the name here from main, emain to main. Okay. All right. That didn't change it here, but that's okay. All right. So on here, all I want to do is the same kind of thing. But I want to hide the current form. I want to make a new instance of the main form. There. All right. Now I should, just to make this a little faster, because I'm trying not to waste your time, I'm going to come down here where I've got my red, my white, and my blue and my main, etc. I'm going to grab all of that. And let me do a file save all for right now. And let me go over to the white and view my code. Again, underneath this, I'm just going to paste all that in. Okay. And I will do the same thing. So file save all. And let me do the same thing under, so that was the white. So let me do the same thing under the blue. All right, so I should have, I believe at least, everything is done now. Now, is there anything wrong? You're going to know in about 10 seconds. So let's run this. All right, there's my main. Red, white. Well, that blue isn't working, so we'll have to look at that one. Main, that isn't working, so we'll have to look at that one. All right, that's okay. So let's start at the beginning. First of all, I'm going to go back to my main form. And I want to set the start position to center screen. Center parent. Okay, so that'll center that. So file, save all. Now let's look. That should be making a red. That should be correct. That should be doing a white, so that should be correct. That should be doing a blue, so that should be correct. And that should exit. All right, so let's double check all of those. So red, that worked. I'm going to run it again right away. White, that worked. Blue, okay, all of those work off the main form. And does exit work? Yes. Okay, those are done. So I can close my main. I'm going to do a file, save all. And I'm going to close my FRM main here. And let's just do them in order. So I'll go to red next. Okay. And first of all, let's go to red in design, and let's make this, again, center screen. All right, red, hide form, red, red, that's correct. Blue, hide, well, there's a mistake right there, so that should say blue, and so should that. And so should that. All right, and this is white, so white, white, white. And go back to main. That looks like it's okay, so let's check that. So we start here. We're going to go to red. All right, from red, we can stay on red. We can go to white, so that worked. From red, we can go to blue, so that worked. And finally, from red, whoops, I didn't want to do that. From red, we should be able to go back to our main form. Okay, that's all working. All right, then let's do a file, save all, and we will close down our two red forms. Our red form, design and code, so that's gone. All right, let's go to white. Well, there's nothing in there. Oh, I'd already put that in, so there's red. Now, bad things can happen when you take code like I just did and paste it in. All right, it may be having a hard time mapping this stuff up, so I probably shouldn't have done that. So let's do this. All right, the red worked, so let's go to the white right here. All right, and let's remove all of this. I'm going to remove every bit of it I put in, everything. And I'm going to save it, but I'm going to save it into a file right here. So I've got everything there. All right, now let's go back. And I'm going to go right here. I'm in white. Oh, my goodness. That wasn't a good thing I did. All right, we got to bring it back. Line 76, column 1, red. Okay. Get that out of there. Okay, now, I don't know if this will work, but let's try it anyway. So again, we're going to go to white, and I didn't, but white does not go to red, does not go to white, does not go to blue, does not go to main. So it doesn't like anything that we copied in there. That's all right. We're going to fix that right now. All right, so file, save all. All right, and we're coming to white. All right, we've got all this code in here, which is actually all okay, except we're going to grab everything that's in here for now and try it again to remove it. Okay. Now we're going to come back. We're in white. We're going to come back to red. Okay. And we will add in all this code. grab all this and just copy it. So this will be the red. Okay, that's fine. Then we'll do the white. Again, that's kind of silly because we're already at white, but you get the idea at least. All right. And finally, we'll do the button for the blue. Okay. And the blue was, oh, that's interesting. There's a white, there's the blue, which is of course wrong, but we'll fix it. So when it's blue, we want that to be blue. We want that to be blue. And that, and that. Now let's see if all the white stuff works, the white button. All right, there's white. White goes to red. White goes to white. White goes to blue. And white, well, we got to do our main. That's okay. Let me try that just to double check. In fact, let me first go in and let me set this to center screen. And that's the only one we still have to try. So white to main. That isn't working. I don't think I added the code. I did not. All right, so try one more time. Start. White, white to red, white to white, white to blue, and finally white to main. All right, it's all working except the only thing that's left is the blue. So file, save all. We will get rid of the white here. We will get rid of the white here. We will bring up the blue. It is running. Let's stop the run. Okay. Wish I wouldn't have done that, but I did. Probably going to get another error in just a second, but we'll see. All right. So let's come here. Let's get rid of the code that's in here, just like we did before. Get rid of all of this. That's the problems, the foibles of doing a lot of copying. All right, which is what I'm going to do anyway in just a second. Okay, so here's red, button red. All right, next will be white. Finally, we'll have blue. And that'll end the colors, but I'll need my main in just a second. And this still says white where it should say blue, so we'll fix that. So this should all be blue. That should say blue as well. There we go. All right, let's also make sure that this is center screen. All right, this should be finished. Should be able to go from any to any. Red, red to red, red to white, red to blue, red to main, white, white to red, white to white, white to blue, white to main, blue, blue to red, blue to white, blue to blue, blue to main. And I didn't put in the code for main. Do that right now, and then we should be finished. So I didn't put in this code. Shame on me. So the last one I have to check then is blue to main. Okay, it all works. Also notice on the top, FRM red, FRM white, FRM blue, and FRM main. So how did I do this? I told it to hide the current form. Then I told it to make an instance of the form I wanted to have come up. And then I told it to show that instance. That's all I did for each one of these. All right. Now, there may be a comment that's wrong in here. I'm not going to take the time to fix that. It's going to do a save all, and I'm going to jump back into here. So I showed you how to add a form to a project. You can also add an existing form. All right. You kind of saw the code that was generated for the new form. I put the new stuff in here. Now, there are these global directives. We'll talk about this in class. All right. But there are things that you can go in and add, and there are things that you can remove. All right. And I'm not going to go through any of these right now because you'd probably find it just too confusing. I've renamed forms for you before, so there's nothing new in there. And if I wanted to display, so for instance, I don't want to do this, but if I wanted the first form, let's say to be the red form instead of main in here, okay? Then I could come in and under this program.cs file, there's where it brings up main. So notice if I change this to FRM red and I run the program, now the first form that comes up is red. All right, if for some reason I wanted to do that, I want it to be main, so I'm going to set it back again. I always tell people, be very careful. This is a system file. When you go into system files and start dinking with them, I wouldn't do that unless you have to. And typically, you don't have to. All right, so they explain that in there. It's what I just showed you. How to display a form as a dialog. All right. What they're doing in this one is they're having two different forms come up. All right. So notice now they've got the name and they've got the payment method. So select payment. And this is what we saw before. And then this will change. So they're using two forms. All right. Now there is a control box, a minimize, and a maximize. That's the ones that are up here. There's the minimize, there's the maximize, and there's the control. If you turn them all off, then it is not possible for you to come in and click one of those buttons because they're not there anymore. All right. How to pass data between a form and a custom dialog. We'll go through that in class. Like I said, I didn't want to confuse you too much. So I did it the way that I did it, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. All right, the message box class we've looked through already. You know what the buttons are, what the icon is, the default button, etc. You know all this stuff because we've been using this all semester long. I just think it's an easier way to do this. The form closing event, what you might notice, or you may or may not have noticed with forms, I want to quickly show you this. We're coming to the end of the chapter, thankfully, is when I bring up a form, all right, and I bring up a form here. The form has both if I go and look at it, the form has both what's called a close event, a closed event, and a closing event. Why am I even telling you this stuff? All right, because there's two different types of events here. One of them is a closing event, so that the form hasn't closed yet. Closing, it's still open. There's also a closed event where you can do things after the form has been closed if you want to or need to do that. All right. So it says this chapter is going to end by presenting operation, property settings, and code for a project that has two forms. Well, I've already made one for you. So we can look at this one in class, and maybe we should. All right. I have no problem at all doing that. We could probably make modifications to what we have in here and add a customer form. And that's totally fine. All right. Okay. They give you the property settings for this. They give you the code for this. Maybe we'll do this as a class. We'll see. I've already had 3 lectures on this chapter, and that's probably too many to begin with. So I'd like to go on to the next chapter, and that's what I'm going to do in a matter of moments. And the next chapter is Chapter 11. And Chapter 11, as you can see, not a particularly long chapter. All right, it's on basic debugging techniques. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes.